Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm back and it hadn't been 5 years. Imagine that. In today's video, I want to talk about rifle setup. I've given a lot of classes with the AR-15, and one thing I've noticed is there's a lot of Americans out there that own these for defensive purposes, and they have no clue how to have their rifle set up, okay? So I'm just going to talk about a few key points of things that I try to make sure to cover when I'm trying to teach about these firearms. Very minimal, but there are some key features or key items, I'll say, that you need to have on AR-15 if you're using that as a defensive firearm, okay? First thing I want to talk about is sling, okay? You need to have some sort of sling. I know there's the different variations. There's single point, 2-point. There's the old school military style where you just carry it over your shoulder that goes from one end to the other end. Now that's the kind of style I would tell you do not have, like what you would have on a bolt action hunting rifle. You need to have something where you can sling it across the body, okay? And I say that not so much for like home defense. You know, a lot of people have these guns for home defense. That's okay. You probably don't even need a sling. But when you go take classes and you're in the training environment, and if you're not taking classes, you're wrong, okay? You need to go get trained and have someone validate what you're doing if you think you're a badass. You need to have a sling, because when you're constantly up and down, you get fatigued, and you may be in a class where they tell you, okay, sling them and let them hang, okay? That's very common in a lot of AR-15 classes. So you need to have a sling, whether it's single point, 2-point, whatever. There's various brands of good slings out there. VTAC slings are good. The Blue Force Gear Vickers sling is good. This particular sling I'm carrying is the Haley Strategic. I like it because I can convert it from single point to 2-point, right? So I've got single point right here, right? So it's mounted right about there. And then I've got it on the buttstock. And pop this off. We've got a little section where I can mount here, right? Pop this off. Actually, I did that wrong. But actually mount this part here. And then there's a piece right here on the sling where I can come across. Now I've got a single point, okay? They do that so if you want to carry in different configurations based on what you're doing, or if you're climbing stuff, whatever, you need to change the configuration, you can. And I think that's a very good option, okay? And then on top of that, it functions similar to a VTAC or Vickers style sling, where I can tighten. This one's a little bit harder to do, but I can tighten or loosen based on what I'm doing. You know, if I'm just like this, or I don't have a lot of stuff, like magazines and stuff, I can tighten it. Being a pain in the butt right now. But let's say I put a kit on, and I've got a bunch of magazines, and you know, my gun's out like too tight, then I can loosen it, right? So, and that's something I would recommend too. If you're gonna get 2-point sling, get something where you could do quick, rapid adjustments that stick without having to really mess with it a whole lot, right? Which is what this one does. The VTAC one probably does a little bit better, a little bit faster, but still not bad. That's a Haley Strategic sling. So, number one that we talked about, slings, right? Number two, optics or sights. One thing I notice is people, and I get everybody's got a budget, okay? But people try to be really cheap, and they go buy a red dot True Glow optic from Walmart and throw it on their ARs. No, that is not gonna work. And then when it goes time to zero rifles, which, you know, if you're gonna take a training class, you should show up with your rifle zeroed. But I get it, a lot of people don't know how to do that. So I cover that in my classes so people can learn how to zero their stuff based off their gun and their optics. So, okay, I get it. Don't show up with it zeroed. We'll take care of it. But show up with these True Glow optics and you can't zero them. They don't work, or they don't ever, they quit turning. You run out of room, or you run out of adjustments, I guess. So here's what I'll tell you. There's several decent budget optics out there. You can get red dots from Vortex. In the $200 range, you can get red dots from Riton Optics. You don't have to have the aim points, the EOTechs. But there's Hollow Sun's got some very budget-friendly red dots. Sig makes some, and they all work. You can zero them, you can use them, they work fine, okay? But don't buy Walmart stuff, okay? At least not for optic wise. Not unless you're buying a scope. You know, they sell Nikon scopes. Those are good, but that's for scopes. Okay, we're talking red dot style optics for now. So if it's out of your budget to get something better than a True Glow, just put iron sights or pop-up sights. Go buy some Magpul pop-up sights. You spend about $100 for the pair, and go with that. Okay. Because at the end of the day, those are going to last and they're going to work. You can zero them, do all that, sight them in, and they're going to work better than that True Glow. Okay, everybody just wants to be tactical and have an optic. Don't do that. Don't be cheap in that manner. If you can't afford, you know, $200 or more on an optic, I say $200 or more because Hollow Sun, Vortex, they start theirs out about around that price range. Then just do pop-up sights or iron sights, whatever. Okay. Now, as far as optic setup, everybody asks, oh, what about backups? I noticed you don't have backup pop-ups or iron sights on this. That's right. I do have guns that do have backups. I've got some that have just a red dot and some backups. But the way this gun is set up, so if you're wondering, this is an EOTech. I think it's the XPS, the latest version with the night vision version. It's a EOTech with a Riton optics, 3-power magnifier, okay? If this goes down, I've got lasers, okay? There's an infrared laser on here and a visual laser. This is the Hollow Sun, it's the LS321G, okay? I think there's a newer version of this now, but we can talk about that later. But anyway, so, you know, if the optic goes down, I've got a laser option. So I've got at least 2 options, okay? If they both go down, I'm just going to put body in glass, okay? And do what I got to do. Not a big deal. Most people rarely end up using their pop-up sights. I have seen it in a training environment. As a matter of fact, you know, I've seen somebody blow their EOTech up because of bad reloads. But anyways, so at that point, he would have been using pop-ups, right? But very rarely do people ever have to resort to those. So if I don't have them, I don't have them. Not a big deal. Next, or last, the most important thing to have is a light, okay? Especially for defensive purposes. You know, if you're just having a modern sporting rifle, who cares? You need to have some sort of light source, and make sure it's a light that is made by a reputable company that is known to make lights that go on firearms, okay? That's another thing. There are some cheap, like airsoft lights people put out there, and they'll put them on their ARs. They'll shoot a few rounds and then notice their light don't turn on because they're not meant for that percussion, okay? Or blast or whatever you want to call it. This one in particular, it's the Streamlight Protac. It's probably only like 350 lumens. I know it's the bee's knees to have 500 to 1,000 lumens. Why'd I go with such a small light? Well, because it's short, it's lightweight, and on this particular gun, white light's not my primary. It's going to be infrared laser with NVGs. So that's why I've got the smaller, less lumen light, because I'm probably not going to use it. And then as far as setup, you know, you've got pressure switches, which is, you know, how this one's set up and all that. That's we can get into that in another video. But those are the 3 key things. Sling, either good pop-ups or a good type of sight, and lights. Now, as far as what kind of sight and magnification, all that, there's so many options. This particular setup I've got, again, is an EOTech with a Riton 3-powered magnifier, and then I can sling it out of the way where it's just 1 power. But there's variable powered optics that are out there. There's 1 to 4 power, 1 to 8 power, 1 to 10 power. Those are decent options, made by companies like EOTech, Vortex, Leopold, Rayton, you name it. They're all out there. And then there's just iron sights. There's regular red dots. This is a holographic sight. Vortex also has their version. And then you can just get like Vortex red dots, hollow suns, aim point, you name it. Everybody's making them. But this is my setup. If you're wondering, this is a Daniel Defense DD M4 V7, the lightweight version. Modifications, it's got Radiant Raptor charging handle, Geisley flat trigger, really like that. As far as that goes, everything else on it's pretty much stock, other than obviously the optic stuff. That's their collapsible stock, their pistol grip, their safety selector, their ejection port cover, their M-LOK handguard rail system, and then it comes with the grip. And no, I don't do the old school like this. I tend to like to grip my stuff more at an angle, but I do like having that there as an option. If I want to put it up against something for stability or whatever. And then down here again, this is a hollow sun infrared laser. It's also got a visual laser. It's got the floodlights, the whole 9 yards. If you got questions about this, how I like it, it's the civilian, version of an infrared laser. So it is what it is. It's not a PEC 15 like what I had in the military. I would rather have a PEC 15 probably, but for the price point of this, not a bad option at all. Very pleased with it. But anyways, that's the basic AR-15 setup, right? Sling, optic, light. Hit me up with any questions you have in the comments. I'm out.